much for being here. Always appreciated, guys. So much to talk about. I hope we're going to do a little Q&A tonight. We're going to do a AMA. That's what I'm calling this segment. Starting from tonight, it's our first AMA. Ask me anything. And tonight, of course, is going to be the guitar edition. Um, so you are more than welcome to join in on the festivities here tonight. Before I get started, I always like to start off by saying that I do appreciate you spending your time. Time is a valuable thing, and spending a little bit of it with me is really greatly appreciated. It always is. And thank you so much for doing so. Tonight is going to be a little bit of a Q&A. I'd like to say welcome to Maddie and Scott. How you guys doing? And thank you guys so much for being the mods on the channel. Always really greatly appreciated. Can't say how many, especially lately. I've been getting emails from companies who want me to sell them the rights. I believe it or not, this is a true story. Uh, for use of the stuff on my channel for AI data collection. Right, Mr. Watson, welcome. So, Indian company, and want to buy the rights to my videos so they can use them for AI, I guess training or learning. And I thought of the ironies of that. I thought of the ironies of that, fellas, because I was a commercial jingle writer. Before that, I was a record producer. And before that, I was an engineer and a gopher and anything else I needed to be in order to get in. And when AI came along, um, that pretty much will cook the goose of commercial jingle writing because, quite frankly, that's just the thing. Mr. Moss, how you doing? Good to see you, our guitar man in Amsterdam. I love it. Good one. I love that one. I'd get a t-shirt of that. Mr. Rogers, welcome. Amir, delivery driver, grab the camera for Lamar Jackson edit. We didn't get it the first time. You didn't have to say it 20 times. Hey guys, yeah, the ironies of that, them asking me to use, it just, it kind of, it didn't so much rub me the wrong way because I've sort of accepted it. I've said to myself, okay, this is how, it's going to play out. But, to ask me that, I was like, no, thank you. So interesting. So interesting to me. And really, honestly speaking, as a result of me turning, it's funny. I was bringing this point up, really, for Scott and Maddie to state that whenever I turn one of those things down, whenever I immediately send an email out saying no, I'm not interested, the spam level on my channel just goes through the roof. I'm not kidding. It's like they're like, fine, unleash the hounds on him. So I said that as a preamble tonight, really as a warning to you guys, to let you know that we can expect it tonight because I said no to those people. And they're going to hit me up 6 ways Sunday. I know it. It's happening already. You don't have to be Nostradamus to see where that's coming, but it's always good to do that because that lets you know you didn't want to get to get involved with them in the first place. Um, Cheers to the crew, Scott and Maddie. Well, cheers to all of you guys, but yeah, to those guys certainly. Um, all of you guys. You're always here, and I appreciate it. It's always fun. There's been a lot of YouTube channels that have been lamenting this week about the death of YouTube guitar channels. Everybody has a little bit of a different take. I've covered this before, so this is not new territory for us here on this little nick of the woods, this end of the table, as I like to put it. YouTube is a cafeteria, and our table are the guitar nerds, and high school cafeteria. And honestly speaking, it's funny to me because, you know, I just think that we are in a situation where, bright, hey brother, well, hello to you too. We're just in a spot. You look like a real respectable person. Well, looks can be deceiving. Vince, but thank you anyway. I appreciate it. We are in a place that is an oversaturation, and any kind of oversaturation certainly leads to a kind of malaise and public consumption of said oversaturated thing. And there's it's been pointed out that there's only so many ways that you can do this pedal. What order of pedals should you have on your pedal board, or what is this vintage pedal sound versus this one, or what are these old speakers sound against new ones. It's all been done in the last 15 or so years of guitar YouTube. Pretty much, well, everything, a combination thereof, has been done to the point now where there's even some guys who are doing like the other YouTubers on other types of channels, the other tables, where they're doing comments on other people's comments. Like let's comment on Rick Beato, or let's comment on this guy, or let's do that. I consider that to be kind of scavenging at that point. Well, let's it's a fair enough thing, I guess, but I just it's not something that you're really ever going to see on this channel. I'll point out that I was watching somebody. I got tore up by mosquitoes when I was gardening today. Um, I I will mention somebody else and their channel, of course. If I was watching it, it brought something to mind. But sitting there and doing a whole video reacting to somebody else's reaction is just not my cup of tea. No, you know, you the goal of this channel the was always to promote the concept of I'm good with what I've got. Minimal amount of equipment that I need, and that varies from person to person. The minimum amount of equipment that I need that's in good service, good condition, good enough quality where I can get the job done. Period. In the sentence. And now that seems to be a popular thing because of the economy and other things that are going on out there, but I've never differed from that. I've always been on that track, so I don't think that it's really going wrong per se and going down to guitar YouTube. I really think what it is that people are catching on. They're starting to get hip, and they're starting to see who are the shameless promoters and who's not. Who are the game changers. My favorite, my favorite, my favorite. Boy, put that in the title, and boy, you're going to get my downvote immediately. Don't care what it is, and that sort of ilk, has sort of infiltrated into this space. Certainly, the big producers have infiltrated into the space through their distributors. Okay, if you can follow what I mean by that, and it just got to the point where you know people are just getting gun shy. You know, but for the channels that are teaching folks how to repair things, how to flip things, or advice on how to maintain a good minimum studio, things like that. Basically, what we do here, they're doing okay. I'm not doing great numbers. I'm not growing by leaps and bounds by any means, but I average a certain amount of new subscribers every month, and that hasn't dipped. So there's that. It's not a great amount, but I consider one person. I always said if I can get one, then I can get two. If I can get two, I can get four. If I can get four, I can get eight. I always say that each person counts. So there's that. All right. I did say this was a Ask Me Anything. Let's see what we got here. Boy, my eyes are bad. I should have worn my glasses tonight. Mike, what are your thoughts? If I squint, guys, don't make fun of me. Mike, what are your thoughts on end of show gear destruction during live gigs? Overdone, sacrilegious, or necessary art form. You mean like what are guys like doing a Hendrix? They're like taking a guitar pedal and like lighting it up and going like this over it. I never heard of that, Scott. I think that that's terrible. If anybody's doing that, unless if it was a junker, I guess. But to purposely do something like that, really? That's terrible. Lawsuit vintage goodness from Japan will never go out of fashion. Yeah, Mike, but I'll be honest with you. It's such a small niche in itself. It's a niche within a niche. If the guitar table, is a niche in the cafeteria, so to speak, of YouTube, then made in Japan guitars, the interest in that are like, it'd be the corner seats of the table over by the trash can. I hate to say it, it's the truth. For example, I ordered a guitar coming in called it's a Greco. It's a made in Japan Greco, and it's called the Rock Spirits, Greco Rock Spirits. And finding information on that guitar is because it was a Japan only model and not a lot got out, but there's two YouTube channels, guys covering it, and they're both Russian channels. And that makes sense because a lot of guitars either go up to Russia or down to the Philippines. That's the truth of it. The real channel or direction, I'm the oddity sending them over to Europe. Usually they go to Russia or they go down to, Russians play a lot of Japanese guitars, and the Filipinos as well. So, honestly speaking, not a lot of information about a lot of them. It's starting to pick up. It's starting to pick up. And of course, that's encouraging for me too to be in the position that I am to be able to talk about them. But there is that. Mike, you need an old school blue and yellow California license plate that says "I'm good." Yeah, yeah. Oh man, I miss those. I had. I memorized my license plate. Um, I had a Suzuki Samurai. When I got back from my first tour of Japan, you know, I knew I wasn't sticking around, but I went out and bought for cash all my cars. I never bought a car on credit before in my life. Every car that I had ever, including the ones in Japan, I paid cash for. And I came back from my first tour of Japan. I was flush with cash. I bought a Suzuki Samurai, and the license plate on that it was so funny. I can't think of it now. But yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, I do, brother. Grunge bands used to trash their guitars and drums pretty bad. Yeah, well, okay. In that type of performative art form, sure. I'm talking about if you got a YouTube channel and at the end of it, it's like, okay, we fixed this up. Now let's blow it up with some dynamite. If that's the case, then no. In the case of punk, we talked about this in the last live stream about CBGBs and how if I walked in there and I saw a punk band and they're doing their thing, I'd call that par for the course. So in a performative sense, I don't mind it, honestly. Um, if it's part of the stage thing because that's rock and roll. But if it's anything other than that, then no. What are your thoughts on budget guitars and gear these days? Side question. Are you familiar with T's guitars? No, sir. Will, I'm not. But my thoughts on budget guitars and gear these days is this. You know, I have a 95% of the way theory. I always kind of have, Will. And what that basically means that if it will get you 95% of the way there sound wise from whatever it's imitating or whatever it is that it's emulating, I'm sorry, then probably you're okay. That used to be with Epiphone guitars in terms of getting that Les Paul sound. That used to be Squires when it came to getting the Strat or Tele sound or Jazzmaster. As far as pedals are concerned, there used to be a number of companies, but Behringer, of course, always comes to mind. Now that list has grown. That list has, quite frankly, grown. There are a number of companies out there that are producing great equipment that you can get. You know, they always have. I recorded. I didn't mention this, but the demo. I have a friend that when I do a song or a set of songs, I always send them to him, and he's a producer that I respect, known him for a long time. And I sent that song, "There's something that I want to tell you," over to him, and he wrote back and said, "Great catchy tune, nice demo." And that is in his speak. You really should pursue this because this is a nice song. It's worth pursuing, but there's some aspects of the recording that you can't release this as it is. And I thought that was so funny because, as you know, I like to be done. But if he says something, or sometimes he'll say, go with it, go for it, which means that it's all good. But it's always, I'm no man is an island. I have to throw, my thoughts and ideas off of somebody. And I don't object to it too much. But in the case of this, that lets me know I have to go back to the woodshed. But one of the things that I did that I liked for the first time on that recording is I recorded the guitar parts wirelessly. I didn't, and I found, and this is not a very expensive system, by the way, Will. This is about, to answer your question, this is $50 for this wireless system. When I was younger, wireless systems used to be, the cheapest one would be $800 or $900, and this was back in the day. The fact that the cost of these wireless systems have come down and the quality is great, enough for me to use it for recording. It really made life a lot easier recording wirelessly. I have to be honest with you guys. That was a first for me. I just tried it out and it sounded great. I thought so. The guitar solo on that song, that was wireless and gave a great sound to it. Actually, wireless, they say, adds another kind of tonality to it as well. I'm not sure about that. I'll have to do a test on that. But yeah, to answer your question, Will, it's just, a much, much better market out there for consumers. However, it comes at a time when consumers are a little bit tapped. If a YouTuber did that, it would be hilarious. Yeah, that would be. I don't know, man. They kind of reverse do that when they take a perfect guitar, go out and dunk it in the mud, and then film it and tell you they're going to restore it. It's kind of the same thing. Then you definitely need to check them out. I will, as a matter of fact. Let us take a grab of that. And let's put that over here. And there we go. We are looking at it live. T's Guitars. I accept. Wow, very nice. And very affordable too. On the front page, the first thing that I'm seeing here are their tellies. And they look very nice. Again, in this price range, just looking quickly at the specs here, it's a telly, guys, with a Strat type cutaway to it. Standard telly configuration. Comes in a lot of colors. It's a string through body design. Looks very nice. Yeah, very nice. Anical humbuckers. Yeah. Again, at this price range, you can get a lot of great stuff. You don't, and the thing is that, some of it, in my opinion, like that one right there, may be a runner against even a Squire, because the price is a lot lower, and there's some things on it that I like better than the Squire guitars. Um, if Dank Pods were into guitars. Oh gosh, that's funny. That looks like some kind of new cool type of vape that the kids are using. Matty Two Hat says. Older fellow here too. I got you, Will Red. If you don't mind, I like to call you Red. I have a thing for Red Foreman on that '70s show, and I always wanted a friend I could call Red. So I'm gonna call you Red. Yeah, going back to when I was a kid, you really didn't have those kind of options. It wasn't until I became a teenager in the mid 1980s that the early Japanese guitars started coming into the market in Southern California, and boy, we got some great guitars. I never had a bad guitar. I have to be honest with you. I've had a lot of guitars, but I've never had truly a bad one. That's the truth. Mike, I have a Greco Speedway 700. Yeah, the base copy. It appears to be very similar to an Ibanez Artist Neck through construction made in 1979. Do you have any idea what factory it was made at? Yeah, I'd say 100% that it was made at three factories, or a combination of at least two of them. Remember, the three factories when it comes to those is going to be the Fujigen factory, the Matsumoku factory up until 1986, 1987, and the Chuogaki from there, and the Fujigen. Did I say Fujigen Gaki? So, if it's after, if what was the year on that? 79. So yeah, that would be most likely a Matsumoku made one. Most likely. Mike, have you ever found singing embarrassing? Um, no, but it's not, what I didn't like is that the other singers would tease me because I didn't sing black enough, according to them. And I didn't like that. So, because there's a certain style that I like singing, and, it wasn't Luther Vandross. So there is that. But that was mostly Naemisha Wilson, my old singing partner. She had a beautiful voice, but Naemisha, she used to just get on me. Why you sing like that? Anyway, low. I love that too. It was a reference to wireless you held up. Oh, gotcha, gotcha. Ah, I got you. I thought you were referring to another thing. Yeah, check that out. You know, you know. It's funny. It does look like that. Matsumoku. Yeah, Matsumoku. 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 Yeah, they were a factory that existed in Matsumoto, in near the area where they had the Olympics at Nagano Prefecture, up until 1987, they closed that factory. It's a guitar, not a bass, by the way. Well, let me look that up because I thought you were talking about another thing. And away we go. Ah, okay, I see. Yeah, but still doesn't change my answer. Matsumoku. Yeah. Will says my YouTube partner has rebuilt several different guitars from Matsumokume Guitars Fantastic Factory. Yeah, they were. Um, they were. They made some of the greatest guitars. I've had a lot of them. Although I have to admit, the Fujigen builds are a little better. Mike, have you ever made karaoke music and can you remember what the word karaoke means? Oh, no, I can't. I cannot remember. I know Japanese, but I don't know what karaoke means. That you got me on that one. Karaoke, the kanji. 日本語になっていいよな。 That's embarrassing. I have to go into my Japanese dictionary here. Karaoke. Karaoke is karaoke. The kanji, actually in this case, the katakana for it is karaoke is karaoke. It doesn't really have a meaning. That's, I guess, interesting. Of course, the dictionary is a place where people go and sing at. Did I do karaoke? Are you kidding me? So, in 1998, I got tired of that life. I have been doing it for 3 years solid, touring with different groups, playing keyboards behind different groups, playing bass or guitar behind certain groups that my manager company moved me around with, and I quit doing music. And I started working for a magazine. Of course, I was a English literature major, um, so I decided, well, let's use that. And I started working at a magazine called Tokyo Day and Night, as a writer, as a staff writer. Completely moved away from music. First time, that I ever done that since the time I was 16. Even in college, I was in music. And we used to get drunk as hell. We used to go to Roppongi, me and the other guys. We used to get drunk as hell and go to karaoke bars. Karaoke bars back then, I'm just going to be frank with you guys, I'm not going to say, well, I didn't do this. By the way, I was raised the way that I was raised. And the way I was raised, I wouldn't do this. But a lot of my friends, they would go to the karaoke bars, and those were hookup spots, big time. I had a friend named Justin. He was married to a Japanese chick, but he was plowing through Japanese girls in the karaoke box 10 at a time. And what made it worse is because I could sing. When I went to karaoke box and those Japanese girls heard me sing a song, I had to leave. Like, oh, And so, yeah, I did that. That was a big slice of my life for years. Funny you should bring that up. Yeah, cheers. Hey, Ben, how you doing, sir? Rayan, some of that Instagram said that the line 6 pod is better than 2 amps. How true is that? I'm not laughing at that. It's funny to me because it's funny. No, a line 6 pod is not going to be better than a tube amp. It's not, because the physics is completely different. One part of a tube amp is pushing air, moving air. And that has a whole bunch of sonic qualities until itself. Until they come out with a pod line 6 that pushes air like a tube amp, then no. No. I disagree with that myself too. I'm a person. What do you mean? Yes, yes. Yeah, we're just checking to see how many bots we got tonight, Rand. Believe me, I know it's a small channel with a small live stream, but sometimes, we're 50% bots here. Sometimes I turn into a bot, I think. I was about he's plowing through SDDs too. Yeah, So one night, no. So there was a bar. There were two bars in Roppongi. The first one was called Bar, Isn't It? And the other bar was called Motown. And of course, you can pretty much figure from the title of those the types of music they played in those. Now, I never went to Motown because Motown, I'm going to sound super conceited to you guys, but it's just the way it was. But every time I went to Motown, the bartender girls, mostly of them were African Caribbean girls. They were always trying to pick up on me, and I just wasn't having it because it was. Yeah. But in any case, we went out with Justin at Motown because it was five. We were all broke. We were broke as shit, But I was happier than I felt happier than I ever been. I had a little bit more money than them because I had been saving up for my gigging, so I was okay. But we were still limited to 500, Gohakuyen drinks, five, which would be like the equivalent of like $2 beers or 99-cent beers or things like that. And it was during certain happy hours, and I left at the end of happy hour because after that the prices went up. This is back one day when I would drink. I don't drink now, but and go home because my apartment was within walking distance from there, about a half-hour walk. The next day, I got a call from one of the other guys. It said, "You got to meet us down at Gotunda Station." I go down to the station, walk down the station. There's Justin, still in the suit from the night before from our job. We had to wear suits. Still, but the knee was ripped, missing a shoe, which is why when I saw that guy in London that time in 2008, walking through Blackheath, it was the same thing. Pants. I was like, what is it with these guys ripping their suits? But his knee was ripped in his pantsuit, tie gone, and he just looked like he fell out of King Kong's butt, and he had gotten drugged. He gotten roofied, and his wallet stolen, and a whole lot of other things. And yeah, man, STDs would have been kind. Is the point of that story to Justin? It's just he didn't want to go home, but that's for another reason I won't get into. Um, I said the same because if it's modeling the same thing, then how can it be better than everyone's disagreeing? But don't let because if you don't know, you don't know. There's no sane person who's going to go into a room with any decent tube amp next to that and fire them both up and say they're equivalents. Now, can you record with both of them? Yeah, sure. Would most laymen, i.e., the general audience out there, know the difference between the two of those? No, probably not. Would a sound engineer like myself or a decent musician know it? Hell yeah, sure would. And that's that 95% I was talking about. That 5%, you have to decide whether or not that's important to you. And that's really. Mike, in your opinion, what piece of gear have you seen with the steepest learning curve? Oh, that's a great question. You guys got some great questions tonight. And that's a thinker, as Donna Pinciotti would say. Let me think about that one. The steepest learning curve. I'd say without any question, it would be the DAW. Even though Jock and I were dealing with the earliest versions of Pro Tools when we were doing remixes for Motown, I would say that it's the DAW because once you know a recording board, like I've gone from a 16-track board to a SSL, and pretty much, there's not a lot of difference there. There's more bells and whistles on the SSL, of course, but the learning curve is not steep as going from one to another. I found the DAW to this day, to have I'm still to this day. I've been using this thing for years, and there's still stuff on it. It's like, oh, didn't need it, but and then that gets into the question, how much of it is really necessary. But I say DAW in my life. That's the piece of gear. Hardware gear, I would say the Lexicon, what was that? The Lexicon PCM. That thing used to, it was like, it's trying to put R2D2, back together. I could never figure it. It took me a while. I had Brad Gilderman, who was Babyface's engineer, who was kind enough, because I second engineered on one session. I told you guys about that. Actually, more of a go set up, leave the room, and come back and clean up afterwards. But Brad went through it with me. That was another thing. I remember the Lexicon. Sometimes you eat the bar, sometimes the bar eats you. Yes, that is correct. And in that case, the bar ate him alive. I remember him. We had to clean him up too, because if we had taken him to the office and Mr. Miyata saw that, uh, Miyata-san saw that, it'd have been trouble for all of us, because if it was a very Japanese company. If one person did good, then everybody was like, if one person screwed up, everybody was like, "Oh." I'm not kidding. It was good. It was good for me. I can say I've worked for Japanese companies, British companies. Um, it was good experience. In your opinion, Mike, do you think high-end mic preamps are worth their money? Yeah, we went through this. I told you my mic preamp. What did I do with it? Oh, I just had it here just the other day that I use. That mic preamp that I use is great. And you can get them for cheap. Get two of them. Then you got it in stereo. And you really don't need anything else. I'm not kidding. You can get Behringer has a rack mic 2 preamp that I used to use in my studio in Singapore. I had both. If you guys go back and look at that cell, I got it from Jock. I bought it from Jock. And I still preferred, that two preamp box. What did I do with that? That's so odd. Anyway, it's somewhere. I was using it sure as anything for that recording. Do you miss the old analog recording setups with DATs? Yeah, that didn't last a whole lot of time, because at the Yab Yum studio, which was Babyface's studio, where I was second engineer there on staff, and first engineer in the B room. So when they wanted to cut demos I was the guy who went and cut those demos and mixed a lot of them too. But the DAT thing, that didn't last very long. And over in Japan, it was the mini disc. When we performed shows in Japan, we had to supply the club with a mini disc if we wanted to do backing tracks, and that format didn't last long. Although I have to say, of all those formats, I thought the mini disc was actually the best. It was the best of both worlds. I have a Boss 8010 and VE8. Both are impossible to work with. Too many hidden features. Yeah, I mean, okay. Now that you're getting into that, then let's be honest. That Boss SE70 that I used to own, which is a cool unit. I mean, every Boss pedal, little known fact, but every Boss pedal is emulated in the SE70. So if you can get an old SE70 unit, you essentially have every Boss pedal, with the exception of a few of the rare ones. But yeah, the getting into the sub programs on those things are a pain in the butt. So yeah, too many, I guess, for me to even remember. Cool. Was just curious, as you've probably used all sorts of preamps. A really good, super duper high end ones at the studios that you just drool for, like, $4,000 ones, and all the way down to my junk. And if I could have it, the $4,000 ones, sure, I would love to have that. I'd like to have a good UAD 40. I'd like to have Sennheiser, a couple of Sennheiser mics. There's a couple of things I'd like to have. Is it necessarily in order to get the job done? No, 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 no. I bought the R1, but it was noisy at my place, unfortunately. You could try the power source, so get yourself one of those clean power units. I've got one that I run everything on down here. I've got no. The other day I had these speakers on, and and everything fired up, and you can't hear it. So it could be your power. Could be your power. Always check from there first with those things because the one that I have is quiet as Christmas. I actually experienced that last Christmas. Last Christmas, I was out in the Gelderland and I was literally walking through a pasture looking up at the stars, and it was quiet. It was a quiet night, silent night. That was something. Japanese mini disc recorders are insane. North Americans weren't blessed with the real tech, even though Sony was pushing in all their movies. And and that's what we had to use. I still have mini discs over here. I still have them to this day. My mini disc. I at one point, that's what I was mixing to. So I would have my MPC 60 and whatever keyboard I could borrow from the club, usually in Sonic or something like that. And I was doing songs so that they could use those for singers who didn't necessarily have a band, so they could go around and sing with backing tracks. And I was doing that. I got paid go sing in $50 per song that I did, and I was mixing it directly to the mini disc. A little thing like that, slip it in, great thing. I used to love mini discs from my earlier bands. Great format. It was a great format. Problems my power, yeah. Maddie, I'm just saying that's a place to check. It may be the unit itself too. I'm just suggesting because every time I get noise going through a new sub, I had to do that here. I had to run. I had to go out and buy these units in order. These power units I run everything through in order to clean up the power. So just a suggestion. Um, it could be the unit too. But at the price that they're at, or try another thing is open it up and put in another tube. Try another tube in it too. Couple of suggestions. Who has a highlight of collaboration you've been able to work with or perform with? A highlight of collaboration? I like recording Smokey Robinson. I will still look at that. I've recorded a lot of artists, interesting two Motown artists in my life. Worked for a third one, as a young boy in my 16, 17 in high school. We're recording Smokey because Smokey. Yeah, I know there's a lot of bad things in the news about him right now. I don't get into that. I don't know. But all I know is the way that he is to the general public and the way that he behaved with me in that studio. And the way that you see him in general public, very nice, very amenable, very friendly, with a beautiful voice. When I'm sitting there recording him in Sonny Burke's apartment. Uh, on the side of the glass is Smokey Robinson, and I'm sitting there recording, and I'm thinking to myself, holy fucking crap, I'm 24 years old, 24, 25 years old, and I get to record Smokey Robinson. I get to hear him and hear that voice, and he's there right in front of me. To this day, like I said, I've done other people. A lot of these things work with a lot of female, but everybody else is female. Work with a lot of R&B groups, but with that thing with Smokey, that was something because that's just, who gets to do that? Who gets to do that? And when I ran into him later, he remembered me and was very warm to me, and that even made it even more because he just didn't shine me on. Mike, do the groundless switch on the back of some equipment actually do anything? Yes, they do. You got to kind of, yes, they do. Sometimes they do, yes. You record Smokey? Wow, that's impressive, Mike. Yeah. Yeah. Um, Sonny Burke was his MD. And Jock and I knew Sonny through Reggie, which was our manager at that time. He's the one that was sending us off to Motown and to Capitol and here and there and whatnot. And and Jock, says, "Oh, I got a gig for you. I can't do it, but you." Jock is always was always funny about that. I always got the gigs that I was like, "This is okay gig. Why was that? I don't want to do this one." But he's like, he's telling me this is Jock, by the way. I grew up, you know, around entertainers, and he was like, don't mess up. This is a big one. Be nice. And I'm like, are you talking to yourself? Like, when who? It's Sunny. So I thought immediately to myself, it's somebody Motown, somebody, and it ended up being Smokey. So yeah. Hello from Pakistan. How you doing, Peter? Hey, how you doing, boss? How you doing, sir? Welcome to you. Attracts My Tears is beautiful. Yeah, and he sounds like that. That's not. There's no auto tune there. There's no, nothing there. That is what that man sounds like. You know. I want to learn speak English. Any tips, sir? Because you know very well. So just give me any principal tips which could help me. Well, boss, I would tell you get Duolingo. You download it onto your phone. Duolingo. It's how I'm studying Dutch. If I had it when it was time for me to study Japanese, I wouldn't have spent all that money at university in Tokyo. But Duolingo, use that. I am from Kenya. Welcome, Peter. Read books. Yeah, reading books is a great idea too. But listen, tell you the truth, the way I first learned Japanese was watching Japanese TV and listening to it. Of course, I'm a audio kind of guy because I'm a musician. I take things in better through my ears. But I listen to Japanese TV just like I listen to Dutch TV now. I'm walking down the street, I can hear it, but I'm constantly taking it in to get my ear used to the way it goes. Pure tone. Yes, he was pure tone, and I'm a vocal teacher. Great. I think that's great. You know, I can honestly say that. There was some, are you a singer? Yes, I am, Peter. Please go over to Bandcamp, to Asanoki page, Mike McWilliams. Please take a listen for free. You can listen, demo it for free. Take a listen to the two albums I have there. I'm working on a third, which is going to be kind of a greatest hits with a few new tracks to it. But I'm not principally a singer. No, I am an artist in that regard. But do I consider myself to be a singer? No, no. I can carry. I can write a tune. I can carry it. But Whitney Houston singing on the preacher's wife soundtrack, the live version on YouTube. What is that song? Oh, I can't think. I'm drawing a blank. Just listen to that. You'll know if you look it up. That's a singer. That's a singer. That's the most beautiful vocal I've ever heard in my life. You know. Grew up around artists as well. UB Blake. Yeah, I know UB Blake. Of course. UB Blake. There's a connection to my family to UB Blake, actually. Um, Through my Uncle Carlton family. My Uncle Carlton is a Hall of Fame musician, blues Hall of Fame musician, and UB Blake. There's a connection in my family with him. I forget somehow. UB Blake was a dear family friend, and Ronald Radford, flamenco guitarist. It's also a parent. Was like a parent to me. Also grew up with Mama's Pride. Mama's Pride. Yeah, it's great. And Mariah Carey too. Yeah. Asking the thank you, Scott. Appreciate that. You guys take a look at that link there that Scott put up. You can hear all of my music, please. Mama's Pride is arguably the best rock and roll in St. Louis, next to Chuck Berry. Yeah, it's just interesting to me that Chicago hard hitting. Chicago is the birthplace of rock and roll. Let's just be honest. Let's be honest for a lot of reasons. And Mama's Pride. And I'm sorry, Chicago, Missouri, St. Louis, Missouri, is because you had Big Mama Thornton, You had, which is rock and roll. She, for God's sake, she played a three pickup Gibson Les Paul, came out of St. Louis. And all the rock guys were copying her, certainly the British guys. So, yeah. Oh, yeah, that's awesome. You even closed a rag for my nana called the Betty Washburn rag. Oh, that's so nice. Yeah, boy. Yeah, there's a connection there. I'll have to ask my Uncle Carlton about that. I'll have to ask him about it. Forgot she came from there. Yeah. I didn't grow up around artists, but worked at Warner Music in the early 2000s. Met a ton of rock stars. They were generally very nice people and sober despite their image. Mike, did you ever meet Don Cornelius? Yes, indeed, I did, very briefly. So, again, another Jock story. Jock started working with this guy named, oh, I forget what his name was. Um, he wasn't a musician, but he wanted to be a songwriter. This other guy, I forget what his name was, and he could write some catchy tunes. And he started working with Jock, and he was a gopher on Soul Train. So again, another phone call from Jock. Such and such says we're going to Soul Train today. Would you like to come? And I went twice to Soul Train because of that. God, I can't. It's so bad. I have to call up Jock and ask what his name is. What his name is. But in any case, the first time I went there, yeah, I didn't speak to him, you know, but Don Cornelius was over here, and I was coming up the steps, and Brandy, the singer, Brandy, the R&B singer Brandy, she was in her dressing room sitting down, brushing her hair, and she was warming up. And I've said this before, I couldn't believe it. I was walking up the steps and I heard her voice, and by that point she was getting popular. I knew her sound and voice. I couldn't believe it. Again, it was another one of those cases of what you heard on the record is what she sounded like in real life. She was doing those, runs that she did. I want to be down with you. She was doing that warming up, and it blew my mind. I was like, holy moly's, this girl really has that voice. It's a pretty voice. It's not, a strong belter voice, but it was pretty tone. So yeah, second time I didn't see Dawn, but I saw Prince, which is another story. Go not far from say yeah. Interesting. I didn't know that, Mike. Mike Morris says, Mike, besides your uncle, how many other family members play or sing music? My father is a professional, because he's been paid, so I guess it makes him professional, opera singer. He's a opera, actually tenor. He sang at the what's that up there in Griffin Park? Up there at the stage up there in Griffin Park, the big one, and with the L.A. Philharmonic, with a group of opera singers, featured opera singers. Not professionally, he was an airline pilot, but he did that as a hobby. But he studied music and how to read music and sing. So my brother plays keyboards in church. And yeah, got friends and family there. Beautiful spot. Well, I'm in Columbia now. Yeah, that's a beautiful spot. Yeah, that's beautiful in Columbia. Soul Train was always on my house. It was probably my first exposure to music. A lot of people. That and American Bandstand. There was two shows that I watched growing up back in the 70s with Soul Train and American Bandstand. And they were both on Sunday. One was on NBC, American Bandstand was on Channel 7, and Soul Train was on Channel 11. Hello, Mr. President. You look okay? You look like Obama. Gee, I've never heard that before. It's just funny to me, guys. Wow, we've already gone through an hour. Holy crap! Did we ever do the Q&A tonight? I know we were just talking. Did we ever get to it? Oh man, sorry guys. Time flies, as they say, when you're having fun. I didn't even realize what time it was. I was like, oh well, now we can get to the Q&A. I guess we kind of been doing it low key. It's just for me. I did this tonight because I wanted to break the momentum. I wanted to more of, and I do mean not monotony. I do mean momentum of. I thought we were going. I just get a vibe sometimes, guys. I know it sounds strange, but I feel sometimes we're going down a dark path. And I don't like doing that. And I know that sounds weird because I don't like the I hate Gibson or I hate Fenders or your favorite band was a complete ploy, a psyop. Those are directions that, whereas they're true. But it just sometimes it just kind of puts a damper on what should be fun. And you know everybody this week griping about is guitar YouTube dying is funny to me. It's funny to me because it is what it is. If you love this thing called music, then there are certainly one or many aspects of it that you would be interested in discussing and hearing about. The consumerism of it and putting that kind of emphasis on buy, 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 buy is, the real damper. Also, you know, just yeah, because it's really just it. The crass consumerism is just really what just bites it in the butt and makes it kind of a drag. And so tonight, I just said let's talk about guitars. Let's just talk. Instead of me talking about a particular subject, let's talk about whatever comes up because. Sometimes you go into some interesting. I can go into some interesting tangents. I had hoped that somebody would ask me something completely not guitar related, weirdo stuff, so I get that off my chest. But that's okay. I did say it was guitar edition, so we did get into that. But I just kind of wanted to go into that, tonight, a little bit of a Q and A. I literally stumbled upon your stream and already felt at home. Well, you are welcome here. We do it. I'm out of Amsterdam, so I'm live from Amsterdam right now. Um, our guitar man in Amsterdam, as Mike Morris was saying earlier, and we do it 11 p.m. on Sunday nights and 11 p.m. on Wednesday nights, Central European time. So wherever that finds you at, morning, noon, or afternoon, you are welcome here. Um, Guitar isn't going away. I agree. YouTube is turning into a sales pitch. Yeah, and that's really what it is. And I think, and I've always been against that. If you're recording and you say, gee, in order to make this work, I need this piece of equipment, then I don't know. No, I don't want to get into that right now. It is what it is. Yeah, but by the way, Will, in order for you to be here, I get to call you Red. That's the deal. All right. So good on you. I welcome Red. I'm so glad that you're here. Um, Honestly speaking, guys, I just laugh at it all because you do this. It is what it is, as I was saying. You do this out of love. You talk about the things that you love, and maybe other people will join in on that conversation because they love it too. And anything outside of that, or discussing music that you've done or want to do, or talking about, well, I've got this and I, how to do. I think anything outside of that, I think, is where we're moving into the danger zone. I think this is a good place. I think one of the things, this is a small channel. I don't know what it's going to take in order for me to get to the 5,000 subscribers that I'd like to have. For some reason, I've been at 6,000. I've been at 2.69 for, even though I average about 30 new subscribers, 25 to 30 new subscribers a month. I've been, which is not a lot, but it's still growing. It's not in the negative. I'm still stuck at the same number. But I don't care about that because, like I said, if I got one, I can get two. If I get two, I can get four. I can get four, I can get eight. In other words, I'm creating a comfort zone, a nice opportunity for people to get out of that, an oasis, if you will, away in the desert of sales pitches out there in guitar land as far as YouTube is concerned. I am an oasis, a cool drink of water. And if many people want to partake of that cool drink, that's great. If certainly the folks here are enjoying it, that's fine with me too. But it is what it is. And you either learn to accept that or not. I didn't do it for the money. I didn't. And I don't do this for the money. I do this because I really, really, truly do talking about this stuff. And I learn stuff. And if you're learning, you're living. When you're dead, you're dead. There is no learning in Sheol. Okay? So I would suggest that, you get into something and really get into it. This is my thing. And a lot of folks here too. I agree with Mike and Matt. Too much of a hard sales pitch. Why I like this show's motto of I'm good. Yeah. I keep bringing him up. But he's somebody that we all know of and we can all identify with, and of course that's Prince Rogers Nelson. And his recording studio that he cut the 1999 album with was, in Jesse Johnson's words, crap. The crappiest studio he's ever seen. And yet I defy any of us to, it wasn't so much what it was recorded on as it was what was being recorded, wasn't it? So I just use that. I always think about that. I'm good at save me thousands of dollars. That means a lot to me to hear that because that's what I'm trying to do. It's just like we think, oh, if I get that, it's going to be so cool because then I can do that. Well, maybe not. Maybe it's not necessary. In my mind right now, I have two guitars. Yeah, I got an acoustic, a mandolin, and, and a sometimey electric here on the floor here behind me. But the truth is, I got two guitars now, and I couldn't be happier with those two. I feel like a king. I really do. Where some people may feel comfortable with 20, that's okay. But please use them. That's all I ask. For me, it's not about the subs or monetization. I just came out, yeah. I got monetized a long time ago. And the money that comes in doesn't go to me. The money that comes into YouTube, quite frankly, goes to help out a friend of mine. Somebody and her daughter over in Singapore. I make sure that the money from YouTube goes to help her and her daughter out. She's going to school and they need money for books and things like that. That's for full disclosure, guys. That's really where this channel's money goes to. Every dime of it, by the way. So, of course, I'd like to do better so that they could have a little bit more and do well, but they get a little bit every now and then, and that's okay. So, and I have a good time. I enjoy doing this. I enjoy putting this out, and that's okay. That's okay. Even the super chats, all that stuff that goes to her and her daughter. That's no lie. That's full disclosure. The thing that I try to monetize on this channel is my album sales, the albums that I put out and things like that. But other than that, yeah. Captain Hook the die, he tried to scratch his balls. He certainly sang in falsetto after that, at the very least. I'm good, like what you say to someone trying to sell your watch out on a trench coat on the street corner. Yeah, yeah, I still waste money, but all that stuff, like, yeah, yeah, if it's cool, I do too. I guess. I mean, I don't know. I'm getting older. Guys, here's something I want to talk about. Talk about things to talk about. Did you guys see that Will Smith video? That new song, I Like Girls? I like pretty girls. Did you guys see the clip of him performing it in London in front of a McDonald's? Did you guys see that? It depressed me for the last 2 days. I saw it on Friday evening. A guy, Mr. H Reviews, he's a YouTube channel. He played it. Go to Mr. H Reviews and look at his Will Smith thing he just did a few days ago. I saw it. It depressed me. It depressed me. It made me not want to write music anymore. And you'll say to yourself, well, why, Mike? Why? What about that particularly depressed you and made you not want to do music? Because you had this old ass. Will Smith is 1 year younger than me, and I'm pushing 60. Okay? And he's out there talking about, I like pretty girls. Which, by the way, there is a, Sir Francis Bacon quote, thou doth protest too much. If you guys dig what I'm saying there, you know. Anyway, an old man singing about I'll buy you a jet ski and I'll turn your life around and I'll do this. It was so ick. It was so ugh. It was so repulsive to me. I w- you know, I just wrote a song. There's something that I want to tell you. There's something that I want to say. Girl, it's just that I've begun to realize how you make my day. Okay? It wasn't, I like pretty girls and I'm going to buy you a jet ski and I'm going to turn your life around and, you're going to shake your moneymaker for me when nobody's buying that. Nobody's believing that he's really talking about women. Somebody's wearing a dress, but it ain't chicks in that situation, is what I'm trying to say. And it was just revolting to me. It was revolting to me. Thank you, Scott. Appreciate that. I still have a way too big guitar collection, but I still play off through that. That's fine. Mr. H Reviews. Yeah, check that one out, guys. Check that. Thank you, Scott. Check that out. Just check it out, Maddie. Take a look at that link that Scott put up there. It was so bad. It was so bad. It was so bad that it made me think to myself, why are you doing? You're too old to be doing this. This is a young man's game. Because I looked at that and it completely made me see that as clear as anything. Maybe I'm just being overreactive to it, but it really made me not want to. The definition of cringe, it was cringe, super cringe, super cringe, so cringy. And it depressed me from music. Some people, you know, need to stop or pivot in another direction. I would not want to be 58 years old. If it was a song I'm performing that I wrote back when I was in my 20s, fine. People want to hear that because they grew up on that song and they came to hear me sing that. I'm not writing that same song that I wrote when I was 25 now. I'm not writing. I'm not the same person I was at that time. So for him to come out with that theme in the light of everything that's gone on around him, it was cringe and it depressed me. It really did. Got that Epstein Island vibe to it. That's all I'm saying, Mystery School. Just saying. The new Snoop Dogg sucks hard too. Last Dance with Mary Jane. Samson's Petty. Oh God, I saw the clip for that in my feed, but I said no, because it's like ugh. My collection is pretty humble. My current player is a Donner. I love Donner Les Pauls. I love Donner Les Pauls. Got nothing against. I love those. Those are great guitars. I don't use a split. I've got I took the split out of this Harley Benton SG Custom because I just never use it. I agree. Jeff Towns is still performing. Is doing with Stone Cold. Yeah, Jazzy Jeff was always he was a producer. He produced Layla Hathaway's first album, and it was a beautiful album. There's quite a few tunes on that album that it was a beautiful sound as well. So there's that. But that song, oh, when I hear stuff like that, I have to listen to Ellen Fitzgerald to feel human again. Exactly. I was getting into the point. There are just some guys that have a vibe to them that it's just that it's cringy. It's and Will Smith. You know, it's like that scene in the Batman the third movie. Was it the third movie or it was the Harvey Dent when Harvey Dent was running? Um, so I guess the second Batman movie. And Harvey Dent says to Bruce Wayne, you know, sometimes you live long enough where the hero becomes the villain. And in this case, Wilson Smith has certainly he's made that arc. He really has. You know, it just turned me off. Mike asked earlier who your highlight collab was, but who today would be your dream collab? Is Nickelback still around? I couldn't even say that with a straight face. It'd have to be a female singer. I work good with females. I'm one of those producers that you put me in a room with a female singer, regardless if everybody says that she's a bitch or not. I generally get along well with them and get things done. So I like. We were just talking about her the other day. I can't think of her name right now. Oh, she just I can't think of her. Oh gosh, we were just talking about her. Anyway, sorry guys. After midnight, my brain turns into a pumpkin. Nickelback. Female like Aqua. No, 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 no. She's just won an award. She's something. She's interesting. I said last time that she reminds me of a modern Joni Mitchell in a lot of ways, and I just can't think of her name. I'm drawing a complete blank on her right now. In any case, I can see her face. You know, right now I just can't think of her name. Do you know Ataturk? No, man. That sounds like that sounds like something that's not on my playlist. I'm sure it's interesting. I love Middle Eastern music. I wrote a song based on using Middle Eastern instruments in it. Martika, no. No, not Rita Ora. Dang, I can't think of her name. She's up there. She's highbrow. She's highbrow. She's up there. Anyway, would 50 Cent have to change his name to 45 Cents if he included Nickelback on the tour? Good one, Bri. That's a good one. God, it really bothers me. I can't think of her name. She's the one that I'd be really interested in working with, and I can't think of her name right now. That's super bad. Does not bode well. Anyway, I'm just Martika. No, 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 Martika. No, God, gosh, that really bothers me. I can't think of her name. Anyway, It'll come to me, and then next week I'll remind you of who I didn't remember tonight. Um, I'm not gonna read from Weird Scenes from the Canyon tonight, guys. I'm gonna let that one go. Because again, like I've said, I like the mood tonight. We're in a nice positive spot. We're in a nice love space. Everybody's positive, and I don't want to go down that dark path tonight. We'll get back to that. Ataturk was a Turkish president about 100 years ago. Yes, I'm sure that some rapper has assumed that name and taken it on for their group. I actually love Martika. You know who I loved was the producer Saint Vincent. I thought not only was she a good singer, but she wrote a lot of good songs. I found her to be somebody that I admired. But she's not the one I'm talking about. She's, oh gosh, why can't I think of this girl's name? Oh, can I find it this way? Maybe not. Let's see if it's in here. Yes, I accept all. Thank you. No, not Ariana Grande, not Adele, no, no, hell no, not Beyonce, hell no, the U2, no. Oh, are you still doing music? No, 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 not you either. Who made this list? This list, all these like Kelly Clarkson, Mariah Carey. What year? Rihanna. What year is this? Let me check my watch. No, none of these are. Get out of here. Demi Lovato? No. Pink? Really? Seriously, who made this chart? No, she's not in here either. Sorry, guys. That's so weird. Why wouldn't she be in this list? And everybody on this list is from like 100 years ago. Lana Del Rey. She is on this list. I'm interested in Lana Del Rey. I find her to be very interesting. I find her to be very interesting. She's the artist that I'd like to work with. Lana Del Rey. That's who I'm talking about. Thank you, Google. I didn't mean to throw you off your game with my question. Oh, I had no game tonight. Thank you, Maddie. Yeah, Lana Del Rey. That's right. She's fantastic. Great choice. Yeah, I'm extremely fascinated in working with her. Yeah, I'd like to go down an interesting path with her musically because I think she has a voice for it. But anyway, I digress. Uh, I'm sure, guys. That's all interesting. All right, I think that's enough for tonight. Um, Thank you, guys. Thank you so much for this Ask Me Anything guitar edition tonight. We'll do this again. Um, Call it Ask Me Anything. So if you see AMA, that means Ask Me Anything, not the American Medical Association. Although you should call them regarding my memory because it's really getting shitty these days. If you don't, por favor. Why I can remember Lana Del Rey. Anyway, fine as she is. So there is that, guys. Thank you so much. 10 voices and one singer. Yeah. Yeah, I'm glad you came along, Red. Thank you so much that you took the time to stick around, too. That means a lot to me. All right, guys. That's it for this one. We're going to call a wrap on this. I'm going to go to bed. Actually, I mean, what it is, I could go a little longer, but it is getting hot. We're going through a heat wave here in this part of Europe, right? Most places are going through, but really bad here. Monday through Tuesday, we're gonna get up. They did a code orange today, which I guess is a little bit worse than the code yellow. Although I've seen code yellows and they look pretty bad. Maybe it was a different thing. Um, and it's just getting hot in here, so I'm gonna go out on my deck, have a cold drink, or finish this cold drink, and cool off and go to bed. And I want to thank you guys always for showing up. It's a blessing to have each and every one of you Thank you, Maddie. Thank you, Scott, for moderating, keeping the bots away at bay. And we will do this again on Wednesday, God willing. You guys take care. I will see you for the hump, and be good, each and every one of you. Take care. Bye bye.